Hi, Maxwell Hernandez. How are you today? I hope you had a great day. It's time for me to read you a story by Dr. Seuss. The name of the story is If I Ran the Circus. In all the whole town, the most wonderful spot is behind Sneedlock's store in the big vacant lot. It's just the right spot for my wonderful plans, said young Morris McGurk, if I clean up the cans. Now a fellow like me, said young Morris McGurk, could get rid of this junk in a half an hour's work. I could yank up those weeds and chop down the dead tree and haul off those old cans. There are just 2 or 3. And then the whole place would be ready, you see. All ready to put up the tents for my circus. I will call it Circus McGurkus. The Circus McGurkus, the world's greatest show on the face of the earth, or wherever you go. The Circus McGurkus, the cream of the cream. The Circus McGurkus, the circus supreme. The Circus McGurkus, colossal, stupendous, astounding, fantastic, terrific, and tremendous. I'll bring in the acrobats, the jugglers and clowns, from 1,000 to 33 faraway towns, to the place that you'll see 'em in, ladies and gents, right behind Sneedlock's store, in the great McGurk tents. And I don't suppose old Mr. Sneedlock will mind when he suddenly has a big circus behind. After all, Mr. Sneedlock is one of my friends. He might even help out by doing small odds and ends. Doing little odd jobs he could do for some aid, such as selling balloons and pink lemonade. I think 500 gallons will be about right, and then I'll be ready for the opening night. Welcome. What an opening night! What a night! What a sight! I'll hoist up the curtains, the crowds will crowd in, and my Circus McGurkus will promptly begin. With a welcoming toot of my welcoming horn, by my horn-tooting apes from the jungles of Jorn, where the very best horn-toting apes are all born, 'cause the very fresh air there is fine for their lungs, and some of those fellows have 2 or 3 tongues. This way, step right in. This way, ladies and gents. My sideshow starts here in the first of my tents. When you see what goes on, you'll say no other circus is half the great circus the Circus McGurkus is. Here on stage 1, from the ocean of Ulf, is a sight most amazing, a walrus named Rolf, who can stand on one whisker, this wonderful Rolf, on top of 5 balls, 2 for tennis and 3 for golf. It's a marvelous trick, if I say so myself. And on stage number 2, here is something quite new. From a country called From, here comes Drum-Tummied Thumb. Who can drum any tune that you might care to hum? Doesn't hurt him a bit, 'cause his drum tummy's numb. And now you'll meet the Foon, the remarkable Foon, who eats sizzling hot pebbles that fall from the moon. And the reason he likes them red hot, it appears, is he greatly enjoys blowing smoke from his ears. Of course, pebbles like this are quite hard to collect, but Sneedlock will manage somehow, I expect. After all, Mr. Sneedlock is one of my friends, and I'm sure he'll be able to help doing small odds and ends. And on stage number 4, see the Willy Wallow, who can throw his long tail as sort of a lasso. He will flip with a flip of a hip and a tail of this kind. He can capture whoever is standing behind. He can capture old Sneedlock. I'm sure he won't mind. And now here's a hoodwink who winks in his wink hood. Without a good wink hood, a hoodwink can't wink good. And folks, let me tell you, there's only one circus with wink-hooded hoodwinks. And Circus McGurkus. The show of all shows, there's no other showman who shows you the show with a blindfolded bowman. The blindfolded bowman from Brigger a Root, the world's sharpest sharpshooter. Look at him shoot. Through the holes in 4 donuts, 2 hairs on a worm, and the knees of 3 birds without making them squirm. And then on through a crabapple up onto the head of Sneedlock who likes to help out, as I've said. And now come to this spot where the spotlight is hot, and you'll see in the spotlight a juggling jot who can juggle some stuff you might think he could not, such as 22 question marks, which is a lot. Also 44 commas, and also 1 dot. That's kind of like Circus McGurkus I've got. Now to the big tent. But that's just my sideshow, a start, a beginning. This way to the big tent, you'll find your head spinning. Why, ladies and gentlemen, youngsters and oldsters, your head will quite likely spin right off your shoulders. So hurry, step lively, quick, ladies and gents, and get to your seats of my tent of all tents. My parade of parades is about to commence. You'll see Drum Major Sneedlock fling-flang his baton, and my organ McGurkus come on, with his hot steaming pipes and gold brass plated tin, snorting all sorts of snorts in a bumbling din. That is Super Snoop Pedis, Snoot Medus, Snoot Rorus, and I will play Dixie. Please join me in the chorus. Then a fluff-muffled truffle will ride on a huffle, and next in line a fine fluxmox will shuffle. The fluxmox will carry a lurch in a pail, and the fibble will carry Flumox's tail. While on top of Flumox, 3 harp twanging sharp will twang mighty twangs on their 3 sharper harp. While a bloster blows bloops on a 3-nozzled boozer. A noser blows flops on a 1-nozzled noser. And then comes a lion who is partly a trout. Then there's more stuff for 45 minutes about. And then, behind them, while everybody stares, come my to and fro marchers, who march in 5 layers. The fro's march on twos, and the twos march on fro's. I don't know how they do it, but that's how it goes. And now comes the act, enormous. No former performers perform this performance. This stunt is too grippingly, slippery, frightening, down from the top of the tent like greased lightning, through pots full of lots of big stickle-brushed trees, slides a man, what a man, on his roller skate skis. And he'll steer without fear, and you'll know at a glance that it's Sneedlock, the man who takes chance after chance. And he won't even rip a small hole in his pants. And now, here, in this cage, is a beast most ferocious, who's known far and wide as the spotted atrocious, who growls, howls, and yowls, the most blood-curdling sounds, with each tooth in his mouth, weighs at least 60 pounds, and he chews up and eats with the greatest of ease, like the carpets and sidewalks and people and trees. But the great Colonel Sneedlock is just the right kind of a man who can tame him. I'm sure he won't mind. I'll let Sneedlock off for a few minutes to rest, while high over your heads you will see the best of the world's finest, fanciest, breezing, trapezing, my Zoom troop from West Upper Benzizi, who never quite know, while they zoop and they zoom, whether which will catch which one, or who will catch whom, or if who will catch which by the what and just where, or just when I saw in which part of the air. And now, against Sneedlock, brave Sneedlock is back, risking life on my patent life-risking track. While all the speedsters I call my gliding conclusions race around in swift car I call abrasion contusions. And Sneedlock just lies there, not one bit excited. I know he won't mind. He is simply delighted. And here, in the contest of brute strength and muscle, Kid Sneedlock, my champs of all champs, will now tussle and wrestle a beast called Grizzly Ghastly, and slap him around. Then he'll slap him down fastly, and pin both his shoulders tight, flat to the mat. Kid Sneedlock will love it, I'm sure about that. And while that goes on, there, look at this. Go on here, have your herd of through horns jumping deer. Every deer jumps through horns of another pell-mell, while his horns are jumped through at the same time as well, by a deer whose horns also are being jumped through by another who's having his horns jumped through too. Well, I'm sure the trainer Sneedlock can train them to do. Then while the whole tent will ring with hoorays and wild shouts, when I wheel in my whales and they turn on their spouts. First, my whale number 1, with an aim that aims true, spouts a spout that spouts Sneedlock to whale number 2. Then the whale number 2 spouts a spout like a gun, and the spout spouts old Sneedlock right back to whale 1. And then forwards and backwards on spout after spout, my great spout rider Sneedlock gets spouted about, just as long as the water their spouting holds out. Then my tournament knights, noble apes without fears, Sir Hector, Sir Vector, Sir Bops, and Sir Beers, Sir Hawkins, Sir Dawkins, Sir Jocks, and Sir Jeers, clatter into the tent while everyone cheers, stage a roustabout joust with their boxing glove spears. Wow. And while all this rusking goes on below, at the top of the tent, look, there's a star of my show, great daredevil Sneedlock, the world's bravest type. He comes pulled through the air by 3 sword-pin snipe, on a dingus contraption attached to his pipe, and while the people below are all turning chalk white, they're all biting their fingers off in their fright. Great Sneedlock snores up with a terrible height. Then he shakes himself loose. He starts down into a dive, such as no man on earth could come out alive. But he smiles as he falls, and no fear does he feel. His nerves are like iron, his muscles like steel, and he plunges down and down, with his hair still combed neat, 4,622 feet. Then he'll land in a fishbowl. He'll manage just fine. Don't ask how he'll manage. That's his job, not mine. while he'll be the hero. Of course he won't mind when he finds that he has the big circus behind. Maxwell, that's the end of that story. If I Ran the Circus by Dr. Seuss. I know it was a long one, not just for you, but for me too. I hope you enjoyed it. I want you to have a good night. I love you, buddy. Sweet dreams. Bye-bye.